In this video, I'm going to break down exactly why you should wait to buy a car and why right now, the beginning of September of 2024, why it might actually be the worst time to buy a car in 2024. So let's get started. Now, later on this week, I am going to be doing my typical used car market breakdown where I talk about the Manheim Used Vehicle Value Index. We break down vehicle listings, how car prices have trended over the last 30 and 365 days. And so this video today is not a replacement of that monthly breakdown, but instead I want to dive into some economic factors that I think are going to have a massive impact on the car market over the next couple of months. Not only economic factors, but also seasonal factors that really make September a really bad time to buy a car. Now, we all know that car prices have been through the roof for the better part of 3 years. Not only car prices, which are down from record highs, but are still extremely high historically speaking, but it's also just the general cost of buying and also owning a car that's a problem. Maintenance and repairs costs are astronomical, and while the actual cost of a vehicle has technically gone down over the last year, the actual cost to buy a car for a consumer is still extremely high because interest rates are, well, at all-time highs. The current federal funds rate is in the range of 5.25% and 5.5%. The Fed has, over the last 2.5 years, made 11 rate hikes starting in March 2022, and this has impacted the cost of borrowing money, namely for things like mortgages and auto loans. In fact, like I mentioned a moment ago, even though the overall purchase price of a vehicle has technically gone down, that decrease isn't really being noticed or reflected with consumers' budgets because interest rates are keeping the cost of ownership very, very high. But it is still making it so that we aren't really noticing that the car market is going down because interest rates are still high, so monthly car payments are still very high. For excellent credit score borrowers, the average interest rate that you're going to pay on a new car is going to be about 5.4%, while for a used car and an excellent credit score borrower, it's going to be about 7.66%. And this is on the good end of the spectrum. Interest rates for new and used cars can go all the way up to 14.8% for new poor credit score borrowers. Or if you're a poor credit score borrower looking to buy a used car, you could potentially be paying an interest rate of 21.55%. 21.55%, let that sink in. So the range is quite large here, and whether you're going to be paying an astronomically high interest rate or just a very high interest rate is going to be dependent on whether you're buying a new or used car or whether you have good, poor, or in-between credit. And as I mentioned not only earlier, but I've talked about it in a lot of previous videos, not only is the cost of a car and the interest rates for car loans a huge problem for consumers, but the cost of maintenance and repairs as well as the cost of insurance are major hurdles that car owners are having to fight every single day. And while we don't have a short-term solution for things like high insurance rates, which have gone up by 63% in the last decade, and we also don't have a solution to increasing maintenance and repair costs, which have increased by 6.5% in the last year, and while that definitely is a bummer for car owners, we do have one silver lining, because it does seem as though the tides are beginning to turn with one specific vehicle cost, and that is interest rates.
We're just about a couple of weeks away from an expected rate cut by the Federal Reserve. The central bank has kept rates higher in an effort to tamp down inflation, but it hasn't raised or lowered them since July of last year. Current borrowing costs are at levels not seen since before 2007 to 2008, which is during the financial crisis.
And thus the overall cost of buying a car. The Fed is set to have their next meeting on September 17th and 18th. And in this meeting, the Fed will decide whether or not they want to cut rates, keep them the same, or increase rates. Now, at this point, it is pretty much unanimously believed that in this upcoming meeting, the Fed is not going to increase rates. So the question is, will the Fed keep rates the same, or will they cut rates? And if they cut them, how much will they cut them by? And while no one really knows with 100% certainty, there is a lot of speculation that the Fed is actually going to make the decision to cut rates in this upcoming meeting. And while we don't know by how much rates will be cut, it is speculated that the rate cut will be a bit on the conservative side at 25 basis points. And while this isn't going to be a huge difference maker when it comes to the overall cost of buying a car, The thing is that this September rate cut isn't the only cut that's on the table. Throughout the rest of 2024, not only is the Fed going to have a rate meeting in mid-September, they're going to have one at the beginning of November, and they're going to have one in mid-December. And so as of now, we don't have only one opportunity to see a rate cut, but we actually have three. And if we get one, let alone three rate cuts this year, this could have a significant impact on the car market as a whole. Now, don't get me wrong, it will absolutely take time for the car market to decline from these high interest rates. Certainly, it will take longer than 3 months. And it will be a long time before we see 0% interest rates on new cars and 3% interest rates on used cars. But some experts do believe that if we get some rate cuts between now and the end of the year, that we could actually see interest rates for car loans go down by up to 1%, which, depending on your car purchase price and loan terms, this could save you a few $1,000s over the course of your car loan. And while interest rates are incredibly important and long term, this is going to have a massive positive impact on the affordability of a car. Short term in 2024, this isn't the only factor at play that's making September one of the worst times to buy a car right now, because seasonality is the second factor. It is officially September. Which I don't know how you guys feel about September and fall, but for me, this is my favorite time of the year, and as soon as September hits, I basically just want time to slow down. We are in the last month of the third quarter. The fourth quarter is quickly approaching, and before we know it, literally in the blink of an eye, it is going to be December, and it is going to be the end of the year, end of quarter, end of month. And that is why you should wait to buy a car. Because between now and the end of the year, interest rates are expected to be lower, driving the cost of buying a car down. We will then have end of month and end of quarter. And then as 2024 comes to a close, we'll have end of month, end of year, end of quarter, and all of the different promotions that come along with buying a car during this period of time and during the holiday season. Possible Black Friday sales, end of year incentives. There are a slew of great times to buy between the end of September and the end of December. And so if I was somebody who was looking to buy a car, ideally I would wait to make that purchase until the end of December. Wait until the Fed has had a chance to cut rates a time or two. Wait for those end of month, end of year, and end of quarter sales. But if you can't wait until then the end of September could be a good alternative, because at least you get end of month, end of quarter, and you have enough time to see if the Fed cuts rates one time. And well, if you aren't quite ready to buy in the month of September, but you also don't want to wait until the end of December, then I would try to hold off until around Black Friday, because at least during that period of time, you'll have the chance to have 2 rate cuts, you'll have the Black Friday sales, and you'll have the end of November sales incentives. But whatever you do not buy a car today. Certainly not within the next couple of weeks. And at the absolute earliest, I would look to buy a car at the end of September. So at least give it 3 to 4 weeks from now. Because while I certainly can't predict the future, I would be willing to almost guarantee you that you can get a better deal on a car at the end of September than you'll be able to get today at the beginning of September, let alone the type of deals that you'll be able to get at the end of December, which will be even better. Like always, you guys, I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, comments, if you have anything to add, I would love to hear it, so make sure to leave a comment down below. And while you guys are at it, make sure to hit the like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit the notification bell, and I will see you guys in the next video.